Hello crocheters, welcome back to Crazy Cool Crochet. In this project we are going to be working on the slightly oversized crochet sweater with buttons, and we are using the center single crochet, which gives the look of knit. It looks like knit stitches have been used, but it's crochet. There's a little preview of what the stitches look like. So this results in a comfortable, more closed stitches, and the stitches are very simple. It results in a very simple but beautiful end product. So a lot of times, especially for my patterns, I like to use the simplest stitches because it's not the stitch that I want to emphasize. It's the look, it's the design, it's the shape. So the supplies that we're using, the yarn is Red Heart Soft. It's really important that you choose the soft version. It makes a big difference. And it's a number 4. The color is off-white. We will also need some buttons, measuring tape, the yarn needle. The hook is a size J or a 6mm, and some scissors. All right, before we get started with the foundation chain, I want to show you why we are going to use the foundation chain working in the back loop. Okay, so you've got your chains, and we are going to start with a foundation chain of 71. 71 chains for the size small. This does not require a multiple, so you will be able to customize this very easily. But to explain why we're doing the back loop foundation chain. Okay, so to do that, we would start in the second chain from the hook. First one shrunk up right there. So in the second one, we go through the back loop. The first one is always tricky. The first one is always the hardest. And then a regular single crochet. Okay, so here is the foundation chain facing you. You're turning it over a little bit and grabbing that third loop in the back. Now, why are we doing it this way when it's so much easier just to go in through the front? It's because we want the bottom to be worked without a border. Okay, so as you can see here, working in that back loop, in the third loop, gives you a gorgeous finish. If you go in through the front, it looks like that, which is not nearly as pretty. It looks like it's not finished, and it looks like it needs a border to cover that up. For the bottom, you can leave it just like this, and when we go to seam, you can leave about an inch and a half unseamed at the bottom, and then seam along the sides. And I'll show you that when we get to it, but I just want to show you that there are options for this sweater. The way I'm going to use this and the way I'm going to wear it, I'm going to gather the bottom just the slightest bit. Okay, so go ahead and for a size small, do a chain of 71. And then continue with the center single crochet, with the single crochets into that third loop in the back for a total of 70 single crochets. And for the different sizes, you will have to look below in the description area. Open up where it says show more, or click a little V, a little arrow, and that will open up the white space below the description area with a lot more detail and links to the finished pattern that will eventually make its way over to the blog, crazycoolcrochet.com. Now you do want to work loosely when you are using the center single crochet. It makes a big difference. Do not use a tight tension. And if that's your typical tension, you're going to have to loosen it up. Okay, so when you get to the end of that foundation row, and this is just a swatch right here, which is why it's so small, you will chain one and turn. So for the center single crochet, we enter the hook in the center of the single crochet, hence the name. Okay, now it can be tricky to see this, which is why you want to use loose stitches, or looser. So you're going to go into the center of that single crochet, into the heart. It will look like an upside down V. There's the two little bars, and there's a bar right across the top. Right there. You are going under that bar and into the center of that upside down V, into the heart of the single crochet. And you will start in the very first single crochet. And you work a regular single crochet. So going under that little bar into the heart. This first row of the center single crochets is the trickiest because it's hard to see the stitch. But let me work a couple more and I'll show you how in subsequent rows it's so much easier and this goes so much faster. Okay, I'm going to turn it around right here just to show you. See how that shows up? Now here you can see the V, the upside down V, very clearly and the bar. See that bar? So you're going into the center. You'll know if you're doing it right if you get a little bit of resistance as you're going in. If you go into the side in between and it just slides right in, and you're pretty sure that you went into the wrong space. So you will work the center single crochets all the way across for a total of 70. Then you're going to chain one and turn, and you are going to continue in that pattern. All right, at the end of each row, it's going to get a little tricky if you've worked up too tight. Okay, so there's that last single crochet. So I'm going to work my stitch. And then the last one, number 70, you are going to enter it into the starting chain under the two strands. A regular single crochet. And that will be the case at the end of each row. You're entering into the starting chain, so you chain one and turn, and then start into that first single crochet, center single crochet, and work across. All right, for the back panel, first panel we've been working on, for size small, for myself. Now again, this is very customizable. You can make this whatever length you want. So from the bottom to the shoulder, for me, it's going to be a total of 24 inches long. Now to this point, I'm at 23 inches. Then I'm going to start working the shoulders, or the neck shaping, I should say. So I stopped at 23 inches, and it came to 95 rows. This will fit me well below the hips. All right, now I'm going to work for 7.5 inches and then stop. 7.5 on each side. And that will leave space for the neck shaping. And this is going to be a very subtle, just a small little neck opening for the back. Okay, so now we will work for 1 more inch. So this was 23 inches long. I want the total to be 24. So now I'm going to chain 1 turn, and I'll continue in the pattern. And for me it comes to 26 stitches, 7.5 inches. Then I'll stop, chain 1 turn, and work across, chain 1 turn, come back again until I'm at 24 inches in total. Then we'll tie it off, come back to the other side and do the same thing. Okay, for that first shoulder, we did that first row and then 2 more. So only 3 rows in total. And then for the other side, you want to skip 18 stitches and then enter the hook. That would be number 18. Enter the hook in between these 2. Chain 1 to lock it in, and then start your center single crochets into that next center single crochet, into the next stitch. And then continue across. And that will give you the count of 26. And then repeat for 2 more rows to match the other side, of course. All right, when you are done with the back panel, you start on the second panel, or the front panel, and exactly the same way. So you're going to start with a foundation chain of 71, work in the back loops for a total of 70 single crochets, and we'll keep working our way up until we get to the neck shaping. Okay, now the front panel we worked for 21 inches. This is if you were doing a 24-inch long panel. What we are striving for is 3 inches remaining at the top for the neck shaping. All right, to shape the neck, you want to be at the armhole edge and work 35 stitches, 35 center single crochets, and then chain 1 and turn. So you were working toward the center. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we are going to start with a decrease over the first 2 stitches. So you're going to go ahead and work into the center of the single crochets just as we have been. So you're still working with center single crochet. So pull up the loop and then go straight into the next single crochet. Pull up another loop. You've got 3 loops on the hook, and then pull through all 3 loops. You've just done a decrease. Now go ahead and single crochet over the remaining stitches. At the end of that row, chain 1 and turn. You will have worked 33 stitches, 33 remaining stitches. Now you're going to center single crochet over the first 32 stitches, and then we'll do another decrease at the end. When you've done the 32 stitches, you're going to decrease over the last 2. Now, be mindful here that that first of the 2 is a center single crochet, and then remember your last stitch is the turning chain. So don't be looking for another center single crochet or another single crochet. You're going into those 2 strands at the end. That will give you your 3 loops. Go through all 3 and you've done a decrease. Chain 1 and turn. So keep in mind, whenever you're at the neck edge, that last stitch is that turning chain where you are going to be working your decrease. Now we're going to do another decrease. So whenever we're at the neck edge, we're decreasing. Okay, so find that first single crochet, pull up a loop, go to the next one, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, and now single crochet into the center as we've been doing. You will continue in the pattern. When you get to the end of this row, at the straight edge, chain 1, turn, do your stitches until you get to the last 2 at the neck, decrease over the last 2, chain 1, turn, decrease over the first 2, and just keep going for your 3 inches. Now for me that came to 10 rows, 10 total rows of the shaping. Now to start the opposite side, we're going to start, we will enter our yarn, our hook, and attach the yarn in the space immediately to the left of where we entered the stitch in that center single crochet. So enter the hook in the space, not in the single crochet, in the space. Pull the yarn through, chain 1 to lock it in. Now we will start entering center single crochets, starting with that very first one. Work your way across, and that will give you the count of 35. At the end of that row of 35, you would have chained 1 and turned, and then worked across the next row for 33 stitches, and that will take you to the last 2 where you will work your center single crochet decrease. So you will enter into that first available or remaining single crochet, and then into that turning chain at the end. For your 3 loops, pull through all 3, chain 1 and turn. And now we're just going to keep repeating the pattern as we did for the other side. So anytime you're on the neck side, you're going to decrease over the first 2. Work your way to the end, chain 1, turn, come back around, do another decrease over the last 2. Chain 1, turn, and keep going. And then just work your way up the rows so that you are even with the other side. The same number of rows, the same number of stitches. Okay, there is the completed neck shaping. And well, this will all get cleaned up. We'll do a little border at the end. And I wanted for myself a very shallow scoop neck. If you want a deeper opening, just work your way to however long you're going to want that. So whereas I did the total of 24 inches and I left 3 inches remaining, so I worked up to 21 inches and then did the neck shaping, you might want to go to only 20 inches to make this a longer or a deeper scoop. Now for the sleeves, we're going to do 2, of course, and they're going to be just straight panels, no increasing, no decreasing. So you're going to start with a chain of 47, working in that back loop, don't forget. And I made mine about 19.5 inches long. So I was going for a rather long sleeve, And don't forget, we do have a little bit of a drop shoulder at the top. So the sleeve will start a little bit below the shoulder. And then I'm going to gather the bottom the same way as I'm going to gather the bottom of the body. Okay, so I made this extra wide. This will be gathered a little bit at the bottom. And again, that's for warmth. You can absolutely leave it straight, just as with the front, if you wanted to leave it straight. And then you'll just seam that. And then leave that as is. So again, you can make this as long as you want. This project is so flexible, very customizable, very flexible. You can make it as long as you want, as short as you want. The body, the sleeves, the neck. You're working in inches, which makes it so much easier. You're not tied down to a specific stitch count. There's no multiples, so that makes it super simple. Now we are going to attach the front and back panels, and you want right sides inside. The right sides touching each other, wrong sides are out. And if you need to differentiate, typically the front is the side with the tail from the foundation chain. So this is the right side. And we're just going to use a simple whip stitch, attaching at the shoulders. So we're just going to use the yarn needle with the length of yarn, and I'm going to start on the armhole edge. So there's the neck opening in the center, and you just work your way to the end of that shoulder. So just go into 2 strands of the chains at the top. I like to tie my ends. And I double knot. And then with the whip stitch, you're just going around. Just bring the yarn over. Oops. That's it. Then tie it off when you get to the end of that, and then do the other side. Now to attach the sleeves, we're going to find the center of the sleeve, make sure it's wrong side up, as is the front and back panels wrong side up. So find the center, match that up to the shoulder seam, and then you're going to use the same whip stitch coming across from there to there. And so you'll fold this up or hold it like so that you'll be able to do your whip stitch. After you attach the sleeve to the body and the shoulder, we're going to seam the sides and along the sleeve. Now remember, if you wanted to leave the bottom straight, and you're not going to gather it like I am, and you want this little flap, you want to leave about an inch, inch and a half, not seamed. Leave it open. So then just start seaming about an inch up, and then work your way down. Okay, we are coming up to the finish line. So now I'm going to gather the bottom, and this is right side facing up. And I wanted to do this rather than do a rib border or anything like that. I wanted to keep this super simple, the silhouette. So what I'm going to do is weave 2 strands of yarn in and out along the bottom. In and out, in and out, in and out. And gather it gently. I don't want it all bunched up. There's nothing exact about this at all. You're just going in and out. Near the edge. Pull this through. I just want to keep going here to show you how this is intended to work. So now as you're pulling this, you can see how it gathers along the bottom. And I just want a very gentle gather like that. And of course you can gather this as tightly as you want or as loosely as you want. So now I'm working on the sleeve. And it's actually a lot easier to stay on the edge here. So here's where I got back to the beginning on the sleeve. And for the sleeve, I am doing a hard gather because I only want my wrist coming through. So then all you do is pull and get it as tight as you want or as loose as you want. And then cut the yarn. Give yourself a little space here. And then tie it together. And then weave in your ends on the inside. And you can see how cute that's going to be. We're going to do a little border along the neck just to clean it up. Now, I typically like to start right side facing at a corner or the back. Okay, so I'll start near the corner. Attach the yarn with a chain. And then just go around as evenly spaced as possible with a regular single crochet. So just go ahead, go around the neck. When you come back to where you started, just attach it with a slip stitch and then tie it off. Now for the finishing touch, the buttons and the tab. Now the tab, super simple, on chain 5. And then do the single crochet row in the back loops, and then just do the same center single crochet for 4 stitches. And I did this for 24 rows or 6 inches long, or however long you need for however many buttons you want. I used 5. And I actually used a slightly smaller hook for the tab. I used the next size down, which was an eye hook. And then first add the buttons, just sew them on with regular thread. And now you can attach it. And we'll be using the yarn needle and thread. So I'm coming from the back in the corner. Be careful you don't go all the way through, leave a tail, and then go over a strand and into all the way through all the layers. And then do this I would go all the way around, and that's it. So just continue with that, and then you will be done. I hope you like this. It's a little bit different with the gathers on the bottom and around the sleeve rather than rib borders. Please, if you like it or if you want to support my work, I would appreciate so much if you would go ahead and subscribe and click the thumbs up. All of these little things help me out tremendously, and I do appreciate it so much. And don't forget, the written pattern will make its way over to the blog crazycoolcrochet.com, and the link will be left down below in the description area. Thank you so much for watching.